Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about Netflix and how a recent release they came out with has caused a lot of controversy, as it should. The movie is called Cuties and they acquired it as a Sundance winner from that festival, and needless to say, it's got some pretty inappropriate ideas going around in it. Previously we talked about it a few weeks ago when it was announced it was coming out, and they came out with a very scandalous poster that featured young girls in very inappropriate poses. Essentially, this movie is called Cuties, and it's about these child female dancers, these girls who do these overly sexual, very over-the-top dances that are pretty hard to watch. And as the movie just came out, now people are realizing it's actually worse than we thought. We just saw the poster and the description, and there were some that were even trying to defend this stuff. It was pretty messed up. A lot of people on Twitter were trying to come to the Cuties' defense, saying, oh, it's mocking this stuff and it's trying to expose this bad sexualization of the youth. And really, it's not that good. It's not that honorable as they claim. It's trying to expose that thing by also giving us that thing. They are sexualizing the youth, and it's very messed up and dark and terrible to see, especially in this day and age, especially when people have questioned the left a lot recently. Netflix is basically a platform for liberals, and they always support their causes. They're running lots of programs involving major Democrats, even like not even just associating with politicians. Like Netflix employs AOC. You know, they have documentaries and shows about these young politicians on the left from the squad, like Alex Cortez. They also employ Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle. They have documentaries they produce for Netflix. They have all kinds of things going on there. They're hired by Netflix. And as is a former Obama staffer named Susan Rice. She's on the Netflix board, and they approved of this. They approved of this crazy movie called Cuties that's over-sexualizing young girls, and it just is messed up. It needs to stop. It's super dark. It's hard to even discuss here. I almost wanted to not make this video, but I feel like we have to, even though it's something I don't want to see or say or talk too much about, but we have to expose it. And that's why the Daily Caller has this article here. It says Netflix releases Cuties movie about child dancers, and it's worse than you can imagine. As you can see from this picture briefly, they're kind of on the floor doing some kind of dance. I believe that's actually the dance from the new Cardi B music video, like the Cardi B dance. It might just look similar, but she basically stomps on the floor. I don't know if that's actually related because that video is pretty new, and this movie has been out for at least a few months since it came out in the Sundance, and now it's on Netflix. And let's see what else they have to say. Cuties, the award-winning French film featuring young teen dancers, was released Wednesday on Netflix and is receiving another round of backlash from viewers for its depiction of children in sexual situations. The film, which is directed by a French movie maker, whichever that name is, I can't say that, centers around Amy, 11, joining young underage female dancers in a group named the Cuties at school, and rapidly grows aware of her burgeoning femininity, upsetting her mother and her values in the process, according to the film's description. Now, this is the original outrage. They actually had to change the poster for the film and change the description a little bit even, but apparently the film still came out the same. And as you get to the details, you'll see how bad it really is. This tweet says, Netflix just released the controversial Cuties, and it's worse than you can imagine. Make no mistake, Netflix is at the forefront of sexualizing children and normalizing pedophilia. That's pretty messed up from the biggest streamer in the world. You know, and like Netflix as much as you want, I'm sure that we could find a few good shows on there, but this is super messed up and totally negates their goodwill they had with anyone. Footage of the movie began to go viral Wednesday night, with many viewers accusing Netflix of promoting pedos and sexualizing children for allowing Cuties on their streaming platform. They're not just allowing it, they're like promoting it too. Netflix released that Cuties movie about twerking 11-year-olds. The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh wrote on Twitter, fuller clips of the film are now circulating. It's way worse than I thought, and I thought it would be extremely bad. Very explicit dancing, girls grabbing themselves, crotch shots, and these are children. Super terrible. The director has previously complained that she has received death threats after the American poster for the film was released that depicted the underage cast on stage in a variety of poses. They claimed that she was surprised by the American network and that she had several subsequent conversations with Netflix. Well, the surprise you're having there is very messed up, and you should have known better. This is adults making a movie that's supposed to be shared with the world. Netflix Netflix is approving of this for God knows what reasons. I mean, we've seen them do a lot of woke garbage before, but this is really going past the line. And this is also bringing up that idea that people try to pretend this isn't a true thing, but this is the progression of this actual progressive movement. They want to first bring in all these alphabet people. They want to push these relationships to the edge. They want to say, hey, the regular family is bad. Don't get married. Men and female relationships are bad, as are white people, as are of age people. And now going down the line, they're trying to push underage people, and they're trying to push the age of consent. We've seen this with radical leftists on YouTube and Twitter before. They've talked about lowering consent and doing crazy things like trying to get people with younger people. It's super messed up, super dark, and kind of hard to talk about. Netflix apologized for the artwork used to promote the film, assuring critics that it was not representative of the movie itself. Here's their apology, which clearly was not in good faith. It did represent what the film was about. As you'll soon see, we'll go through some more details. The film was produced by a French producer who previously had a hand in a short film, Mamans, also directed by that person with his company, blah, blah, blah. The short film centers around a child raised in a polygamist household. So this isn't the first kind of woke idea from them. Polygamist is families with multiple spouses, like a husband with a bunch of different wives. Another taboo kind of wrong thing, illegal in most states. It's just showing that this person has an obsession with these out of the norm families and relationships. This reminds me of another polygamist story from another left-wing outlet. One time there was this YouTube channel trying to spread this story, and there were these polygamists in Florida. It was like basically this one chick with like 4 different like beta nerdy boyfriends. I believe she had 4 or 5 of them. And then things went really wrong with that story too. They didn't follow up with that. They tried to portray it as cool and hip and progressive, but then later on the follow-up story was like, oh, they had a kid and it turned into the parents fighting, and then they mistreated the kid and had it taken away and all this other bad stuff. Like it went really, really south. And that's the dark side of these stories that the left doesn't want you to know, because they're just so focused on breaking down the American system and the family. They don't want us to have strong core units. They don't want regular male-female relationships, us having kids and bringing our country to stronger places by raising them better in more functional households. That's not what the left wants. They're Marxists. They're communists. They want you addicted to the state. They don't want you leaning on your spouse in a proper relationship. They want you to lean on the government so they can control you more. And then they also want to put these perverted ideas in your head, polygamy, underage stuff, all that kind of extreme, like bestiality is probably next. Who knows at this point? In an interview with Variety, Zangro applauded this person's work with the young teenage cast, saying, "It's amazing to watch. She works at the same level as the kids. She has a deep and intimate relationship with them. She acts with them. She cries and they cry. She's a magical link and a deep sense of trust." This sounds creepy to me. Honestly, this sounds really creepy that this person's working with kids. And if she's at the same level as 11-year-olds, does that mean she's a kid? Does that mean she's like immature or having some kind of issues with her relationships or sexuality? I don't want to imply or assume the worst, but it's definitely creepy, definitely wrong. And we're only getting started. Let's wrap it up by going through some of the details. Here is the IMDb entry for Cuties. It has some very interesting sorts of warnings for it. It talks about nudity, and it does it in a very strange way. Like this should be really troubling to people. It says, parental warning: during one of the many highly sexualized and erotic dance scenes that purposely exploit and objectify numerous scantily clad underage girls, one of the female dancers lifts up her crop top to fully display her bare chest. This is lawfully defined as pedophilia and can be extremely distressing to many viewers. So they're just admitting it has it in there. It has pedophilia in the movie. This is like the smoking gun. Like they're trying to say it's technical. This is lawfully defined, but it's there. It's there, dude. What the frick? What the heck is going on? Oh my God, this is insane. Insane. This is a trigger warning. An 11-year-old girl watches a female rap music video where naked women role play through dance both heterosexual and lesbian acts. An 11-year-old female dance group then mimics these moves on themselves and on each other while a camera zooms in on their body parts as they erotically writhe. This can be highly distressing to many viewers. Yeah, I would say this is crossing a line. This is super dark and messed up. I'm probably going to get demonetized for talking about this, but female nudity of a minor during an erotic dance scene and lengthy and excessive close-up shots of breast, bums, and spread clothes of scantily clad 11-year-old during numerous sexualized dance routines. A pair of tight leather pants on an 11-year-old girl are forcefully pulled down in the midst of a scuffle. The camera glances at her panty-exposed bum. So this is messed up. This is wrong. This is why Netflix is getting backlash. This is why people are saying it's worse. And this is why people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions. I might do it myself. My family's had it for many years, pretty much ever since Netflix came out. But this is crossing the line. This is dark. Children should be off limits. And the fact that all the liberals are supporting this and they're part of the Netflix system, like they're getting hired by them, they're working for Netflix, they're getting supported by them, they're working on their board of advisors. It just goes to show how messed up this story is and how awful these children are being treated. I mean, the way these cameras are going in on them, the way it's technically a pedo thing, like, oh, it's lawfully pedo, but it's okay because it's a movie and we're liberals pushing our propaganda. It's like, no, technically, lawfully is still it. This is it. This is terrible. This needs to stop. I can see why people are canceling their Netflix. And real quick, before we wrap up this video, I wanted to make two updates on this story. Since recording the original version of this video, there's been two announcements that I think are pretty interesting and take this story to a whole new level. As you could see here, Mary reports that after days of silence following outrage over Cuties, Netflix defends Cuties, calling it a social commentary against the sexualization of young children, an award-winning film and a powerful story. If you say so, Netflix. I don't think doubling down is working out well for you here, though. I hear a lot of people are canceling and their stock numbers are plummeting. So the company is definitely losing money and they're standing on this hill. They're dying on this hill of, doing these inappropriate things with young girls. And they act like they're making some kind of message that's against this kind of stuff. But you can make that message without actively participating in the vile thing that this movie is very, very well known for. And that's not the end of it. Next, you're not going to believe this, but they're trying to blame this on right-wingers. Yeah, if you look at this article, this is from the New Yorker. It says, Cuties, the extraordinary Netflix debut that became the target of a right-wing campaign. That's right. They're calling the detractors from this issue, from this movie, right-wingers. This is now a right-wing issue, which I find pretty interesting. I think that's rather funny that being against the abuse of young girls and exploitation of their bodies, I mean, I think that's a non-political thing if you ask me. I don't know if that really should have anything to do with left versus right, but apparently it does. So now anti-pedo stuff is a right-wing stance. You heard it right here, folks. That is pretty much the best way to end this video, and I think this is something that's going to haunt Netflix for years to come. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Will you be watching a show like this? I hope not. Are you interested in canceling your Netflix after seeing something like this? And why do you think they think this is okay? Like, what made them go this far? How did we come to where we are today? How did it become so brazen too? Like, usually this stuff was more hidden and more secretive and you had to search for it online, but now it's being thrown in our face by Netflix, which is super messed up, super dark and terrible. So tell me what you think, comment below, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Until next time, have a good one.